Hello, kia ora, I'm Philip Duncan. Thank you for joining us for our Thursday weather update for September the 28th. And a lot of windy weather on the way for New Zealand. We've got severe gales coming through on Friday, Saturday, easing Sunday, returning again on Monday. So it is truly the middle of spring weather-wise. So low pressure at the moment dominating the New Zealand area. That's what you see in the darker shading. Plenty of strong winds coming through between that low pressure zone and the big high over Australia that's about to bring them more very hot weather into the mid 30s, going towards 40 even next week. So warm air coming out from Australia, but we actually have a colder change on the way, which we'll break down for you in a moment. Let's kick off with the rainfall map for the next 72 hours. This is from Thursday morning. Most of it in the southwestern corner of both islands, where you're getting up to 70 millimetres, mostly around the mountains and ranges. Elsewhere, rainfall totals more into that sort of red-orange zone, which is about 20 to 30 millimetres over 3 days, mostly showers coming through. Here is Friday's setup. So the windy weather returns again. It may not have even eased for some of you, but on Friday, they ramp up. Big, strong westerly winds across New Zealand. Warmest weather in the east and the northeast. It'll be coolest in the very south. You can see that blue line showing that the Southern Ocean airflow is coming further north. So you will feel that cooler air further to the south, but elsewhere it will be fairly mild. Now, as we go into Saturday, that's when the worst of the winds move into the North Island. So Auckland in particular, and the very top of the North Island exposed to wind gusts over 100 k's an hour. And there might be some isolated places like the Manukau Heads, which can get up to 150 k's an hour, believe it or not, in a setup like this, although the area does cope with it very well. It's sort of used to them out here in the very west. But very windy weather coming through on Saturday. There could be some power cuts around the North Island from Wellington to Northland as a result of the windy and wet weather coming through. Now the South Island's also a bit windy and a little bit wet. It's not as wet, more showery with longer dry spells, but it could still be quite windy. And we move through later into the day. This is Saturday 5 p.m. The worst of the winds in this zone here and out to the very east, Mahia Peninsula up to Gisborne, and then Auckland and Northland, Coromandel Peninsula. Those are the areas with 100 to 120 kilometre an hour gusts, and that's occurring just out at sea, let alone how it interacts with our mountains and ranges. And we've got more rain on the way. This is from Sunday morning, the next 72-hour rainfall map, showing most of the rain here, up to 100 millimetres or so around the west coast. Not very much for the North Island. In fact, the blue and the green just shows a couple of showers spilling over, so mostly dry then for the top of New Zealand. So what happens? Well, high pressure comes in. That's why it's dry for the top of New Zealand and wetter further to the south. But this also sparks another burst of windy weather coming out of Australia. This will be warm air. Sydney on Sunday, you got temperatures around the mid-30s. So that's going to push temperatures in New Zealand into the mid to late 20s. But it's going to change on Monday because there is the next cold front moving up the South Island. Windy, warm nor'westers ahead of it. So the North Island's got a chance of being in the mid to late 20s on Monday in the east, like places like Hawke's Bay. But then in the South Island, in comes that cold southerly. Temperatures drop, snow back on the mountains and ranges as Southern Ocean air comes back in again. And so by Tuesday next week, that whole big blast moves away. Still a little windy for those of you on the eastern side, but that high pressure zone means light winds and potentially even some frosts around. But it won't last long because, as you can see, the next windy nor'wester is coming out of Australia. So this is typical for the end of September and the start of October. Met Service sometimes can be at their busiest, putting out weather warnings at this time of the year. So it's not surprising to be seeing all this stormy and changeable weather at the moment. That's all from me. Back again tomorrow. Don't forget, we've got a special Australia-only video out today, Thursday, for the next 7 days ahead. That's why I didn't talk about it much today. This is mostly New Zealand. And then tomorrow, Friday, we've got our next ClimateWatch update, an important one now that El Nino is here. We'll try and break down what that means. And there's some good news. We may be looking at a bit of a broken El Nino in our part of the world, which is a good thing. It means that we might still get some rain coming in. So we'll try and break that down for you tomorrow, Friday, in our next update for ClimateWatch. We'll see you then.